Good morning. I'm Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman in Homework. And homework is where you can live where you work where you live, anywhere in the world. And what we do is we acquire luxury style homes where women can be here part time or full time, but they all have offices and suites. They have studios, they have classrooms, they have facilities where they can actually be able to conduct business and work. We also represent those who have a guest house or a guest room or vacation rental that they want a more select audience and a select clientele for. We market them in our magazine and our website and other different areas. So if you want to live where you work where you live anywhere in the world, contact us. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to Tamara Golden. She is an expert on retreats, how to utilize retreats for your branding and for your business. So there's so much more to that, but I want you to be able to share the rest of it. Good afternoon or good morning. How are you doing today?
Hi, Desiree. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for sharing. It's our coffee and conversations we do every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. We have all different types of topics and subjects, but women that share their expertise with our community. So tell us what got you into this business, because you were in the travel business for years before, and then how it evolved into this specialty.
Well, I actually just a quick synopsis of my background because it's actually relevant for how it got me here, and it is for probably many of us who are entrepreneurs. I worked for 25 years in coaching and event planning and workshop creation and facilitation. And I was also in the scheme of things. I was a career coach. I was a licensed coach doing career and life coaching for 15 years, had a private practice as well. And eventually that led me, I did a complete career shift at one point and had an offer to go into the travel space. And I started doing conventional travel that you would think of, vacations, honeymoons, that kind of thing. And it did nothing for my heart space. I love the creativity of putting together an itinerary, but I didn't feel like I was out there making the world a better place. And then I discovered retreats. And retreats for me is really absolutely the combination of everything that I am passionate about, personal development, spiritual development, healing, growth, and also it mixes that the organizational and planning skills that I have and that I've garnered over the years with that access to resources in the travel space. So it's the absolute perfect marriage for me. And I just absolutely adore what I do. And I really particularly love supporting the entrepreneurs that I work with.
Fantastic. So, what type of entrepreneurs do you work with? Well, I know it's a range of from different industries to different.
Absolutely. I'm usually working with people who would self-identify themselves as probably first and foremost the largest umbrella as a heart-centered entrepreneur. But within that, they are largely coaches, healers, transformation leaders, and creative visionaries. I would say those would be the way that they would self-identify. And these are people who are out there making a positive impact in the lives or businesses of their clients, and that's their calling. And so I work with them to help them create unique, unforgettable, impactful events, retreats, offsite destination retreats that are going to help really grow the connection and community within their tribe, but also help them increase their revenue.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I've seen experience that has expanded because we have retreats here in Rancho Santa Fe, and we've had, like, for example, a CPA moms group. They're CPAs, but the founder gets together 4 to 6 of them 4 times a year, and actually goes a deep dive into a retreat, but also a learning experience. I've had people utilize it for board meetings. Like, say they have a board of advisors or board of directors, they actually will utilize it and use this location where 3 or 4 days where they actually kind of work through. Or even we have some financial advisors. We've had a real estate group, that a real estate investor group, and they come for like 4 days and they do a deep dive. So there's a lot of, like you mentioned, self-centered, heart-centered rather, entrepreneurs and coaches, but now it's that really expanded to any type of industry that you're in, that you
Truly.
take a higher, you want some people, I say to some people, like, who would want to spend more special time with you? So whether you're a
Exactly.
leader of group or organization, there's always 6 to 10 or so many people that would want to spend that one personal time with you. And that's how you can create a retreat and give them that opportunity.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to give you guys, your group is particularly, I think, an interesting one because a lot of you have access to unique properties. And so, that's one of the things that you need to have for a successful retreat. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the essentials that you need to even be able to offer a retreat in your business. And you'll find that it's not as complex as you think it is. And so it's really, it can be done across any industry. And there are a lot of businesses that, of course, take advantage of retreats. It just kind of depends on the nature and the type of the retreat that you want to do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that today to kind of distinguish the different types.
Okay, well, take it away.
All right. I'm going to do
share your screen. It's your screen.
do I have access to, oh, you're
Okay.
going to, yeah, have to give me access to screen sharing.
Okay.
And I'll take you through some of a portion of what I offer as my master class. So you're going to get a real treat today because I'm going to cover a lot of really fantastic information. And what I'd like to do is, have people come on with their questions during the presentation. So have me stop my screen share and have us, as we go section by section, I'd like to actually take your questions for that section. So all of you who are listening, and I see that all of you have gone off camera, please do get your questions ready and jot down your notes as we go, because I'd like to take them. I'm a little bit of an anomaly. I don't want to wait until the end. I'd like to actually capture them as we go.
Okay. All right. So you should have.
All right. And if everyone can see that, we're good to go. Let me do one thing for you, Desiree, since you're recording. Let me just pin myself, and there we go. Now I don't have the whole strip down the side. All right, fabulous. So I just want to, this is who I am. So I'm Tamara Golden. I'm the owner, founder, and CEO of Journey Work Retreats. And we actually are a retreat strategy and planning company. We do both, from everything from helping you figure out how to embed retreats into your business to helping you then design and craft and curate an amazing event. And we do it here across the United States. We also do it all around the world. And my talk is called The Business of Bonding. And I'm very affectionate of that title because it's, talk a little bit about why the bonding aspect is so important. If you can't figure that out already, but this is why, when, and how to leverage retreats in growing your business. So let's dive right in. This is what I'm going to cover today. And these are the sections. Okay. So I'll take your questions after each of these sections, just so you know where we are in the scheme of things. So I'm going to talk about what, I want you to be on the same page with me for what I'm talking about when I mean retreat, because that word gets used a lot. And for me, misused a lot, but that's in my humble opinion. And then why retreats are hot and here to stay. So what's going on in the industry? Why is this even a trend? And why should you be thinking about this in your business? And then when retreats make sense for your business and how to really leverage them to increase revenue. Because a lot of us, I think, are called to retreats because of that deep dive and that intimacy aspect. And that is absolutely a legitimate reason to be drawn to them, because that's part of why they make you money. And we'll talk about that. But I want you to understand that they can really be an important part of bringing more revenue into your business. And that's an important message for me to get across. So the first thing that I want to do is make sure that we're all on the same page by Tamara's definition of a retreat. All right. So here is normally, and I say normally because there are always exceptions, but normally what we're talking about here in the world of Journey Work Retreats. Usually a retreat is, somewhere on par of 6 to 12 paying participants. Can there be more? Yes, of course. I do retreats that are up to 85 and 100 participants. But obviously and believe it or not, they can be reasonably intimate depending on how you craft them and put them together. But normally, if I'm working with a solo entrepreneur, they're bringing 6 to 12 members of their tribe, of their community. And it's either yourself facilitating or yourself and someone else. And it's usually a minimum of 3 days. And that, to me, I'm a stickler on that. I don't think that you can do any deep work if you're not there at least 3 days together. And here are the must-have components of a successful retreat. There are three things that I think you need to have for a successful retreat. The number one is learning time. Okay, this is super, super important because This is the aspect that separates a retreat from a mere vacation. Because let's face it, your clients could go off on a vacation on their own with their family, or they could gather with a group of friends and go off somewhere off site. But what you bring that's special, your secret sauce, is that intimate time that they're having with you, gaining the wisdom that only you can offer in the way that only you can offer it. Okay. So you, as the facilitator, are key in this whole experience, and having some portion of the day that's dedicated to learning. Now, if you're not doing a training or you're not doing education, let's say you're leading a mastermind, there's still some portion of the day that is guided, facilitated conversation. Okay. That's what that can be included in this learning time. Now, how much of that do you do a day? Are you ready? Shocker. In my retreats, I propose you only do this 2 to 4 hours a day. 2 to 4 hours a day. So that's where this, to me, the word retreat gets misused. This is not a conference. This is not a summit. This is not a boot camp. This is not somewhere where we take you off somewhere beautiful and we stick you in a hotel meeting room and you're there for 12 hours a day. We've all been there, done that. And this is not that. This is the antithesis of that. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, of why I recommend the 2 to 4 hours. Okay. So and that's, again, the time that they are spending with you, building that connection with you, is that learning time. And that connection with you is vital. That's part of what they've paid for. Now, element number 2 that I think you need to have in a successful retreat is together time. This is time where, because you're asking me, well, Tamara, if you're only spending 2 to 4 hours a day teaching or doing your educational content, what the heck are you doing the rest of the time? Good question. I'm about to tell you. So number 2 is together time. This is time that you have your participants engage with the destination, with one another. This is when the bonding happens among the group. This is when we get to form connections. This is how you build community. So this together time is hugely important. I mean, can you do that in a hotel room, meeting room over 12 hours? A little bit, but not so much. So this is when you're out doing some sightseeing together. Maybe you're doing some activities on site. Maybe you're doing a cooking class. Maybe you're having meals together. But it's time to really spend with the other people who are along for the ride. Because what we hear from the people who are participating in retreats is that it's not only the time that they have with you that is so magical, but it's this opportunity to be with other people who are walking a similar journey and having that time to really engage with them. And that's, by the way, one of the things that we see that helps your re-enrollments and your upsell is this chance to really feel part of a community, feel heard, feel seen, feel appreciated, feel loved on. And these bonds that form. And when people go to offer their upsell at the end of the retreat, oftentimes one of the driving factors is that they not only want more from you, they want to stay among this community. And that's hugely important. All right, element number 3, and this is the one everybody forgets. This is the one everybody forgets, is downtime. This is why this is not pumping people with 12 hours a day of information. This is the one that everyone forgets, but I'm here to tell you that if you want, particularly those who may be in the healing space or you're doing deeper dive work with your clients, if you want that transformation and you want that impact, you've got to leave your people time to really process and assimilate and reflect on the information that you have provided. This is where the transformation happens. This is also where the regrouping and the rejuvenation and the relaxation happens. You have to give people time if they want to go take a nap, if they want to go walk the grounds by themselves and be in nature. This is part of that restorative piece that is also very important as a retreat aspect. Okay, so those are my 3 elements. Learning, it's the teaching time, the together time, and downtime. And I think that those are the 3 components you need to have for a successful retreat. And that's why I recommend teaching only 2 to 4 hours a day and keeping that limited. Now, what could this look like? This is just a sample of, this is actually a longer retreat. I'm biased. 3 days is minimum. I have to be honest. I like the 5-day juicy retreats where you can really go down, really go deep. But that's my inclination. So this is just an idea of what a retreat schedule would look like over 7 days. So you're arriving on day 1 and you're departing on day 7. So you've got 5 juicy, yummy, full retreat days in the middle. And you see that we've got our learning time in the morning slotted out just for consistency. Now that doesn't have to be, you do it, you do what works best for you. But we've got some group meals in here. We've got some excursions, some activities. We've got them on their downtime. We've got some spa treatments scheduled for them. And we've definitely got a welcome dinner and a farewell dinner here, as well as some other meals together. So this is just kind of loosely an idea to give you a sense for what these 3 components would look like. I'm just a very visual person, so I appreciate giving people visuals. If what it would look like on the ground and how it would break down into your days. And your learning time, it depends on where you are in the world. If you're in Costa Rica and it rains every afternoon, you might be doing your learning time in the afternoons, and you might be doing your excursions or your outings in the morning. So little of that is dependent on where you are location wise, and also what it is that you're teaching and the nature of what you're imparting to your peeps. All right. So before I go into the rest, let me just ask, I'm going to come off my stop share and ask, is there anyone have any questions about what I've just covered around the elements of a retreat? Oh, we didn't talk about planning time. I'll add that in there. So ideal planning time, I think it might be later. I think it's coming up later in my slides, but you want to give yourself a good, at least I recommend 6 months out for domestic retreats, and at least 9 months out for international retreats. But let me see if you have any questions. Anyone have questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself. No, you're good?
Okay.
All right.
My question is, why 6 months for domestic? Especially if you're just doing like a 3-day, do you really need 6 months?
It depends on how primed. I don't know who was that question from, because I can't see anybody's face.
Andrea.
Oh, it's easier.
Andrea.
It depends on how primed your pipeline is. So if you have, I just find that you will fill it more easily and organically and give yourself more grace to create the content and reverse engineer the advertising and the marketing if you give yourself that lead time. Do you have to take 6 months? No. Well, I just don't want you to do something that's slapped together last minute, because it's going to feel slapped together fast last minute, and it's going to make you stressed, and you're going to have a harder time possibly filling it. If you've got people primed and ready to go, and you've got a venue primed and ready to go, and you think you can fill it in a week, go for it. But I just find that most of the people I work with, that's to me a more successful timeline for all the planning that's involved to allow people to do it without again feeling stressed, and to reverse engineer the marketing and the advertising.
I got I have another question. I had this thought when you were going over this. It doesn't really, I've never thought of retreats in terms of what I do, because I'm a real estate investor.
Yeah.
And the only real community I have would be, a small group of people that will invest with me or learn, or, I do some teaching on how to fix and flip and stuff like that. So of course, retreats isn't exactly anything I've really thought about. But as you were talking about it, I thought, wow, could this be a great opportunity to grab, some of my inner circle that already work with me, right? Invest with me or learn from me, and invite some more, have it be really inexpensive, really kind of almost to pay for it myself, and have it be a way to bond more, teach, and create this create a larger inner circle for myself of people who, get to know each other and work together, and then get to know me better. I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about it, because when you said that it really does help the bottom line in businesses, I was trying to kind of figure out how that would work for me. But I think that might actually be something cool that people, especially newer investors that just really want to get a nice understanding of what that would look like, because it's a life changer for people. People quit their day jobs, literally. I've helped people quit their day jobs. And so I don't know. I was just thinking about that, thinking out loud about that, and wondering if you have any comments about how that could work, or if you've seen people do something similar where it's not necessarily, I mean, it's doesn't necessarily fit in the retreat mode, but I guess could kind of be almost a way to bond and increase my inner circle.
So what I would probably ask you to do, because that's a very it's a very specific question to your scenario. What I would love to do is actually have a sidebar conversation with you to dig deeper into what you want to do and help you, brainstorm that through. But in a simple answer, yes. So because
I'll take it.
You can use it to bring people together. Where it caught me off guard a little bit is when you said you wanted to pay for everything and cover the expenses. That's not, but I see how you're wanting to do it and why you would do it. You would do it as an investment to actually have those people come on and then, obviously be spending much more money with you down the line. And I'll cover kind of, we're coming to a lot more information about the expenses piece of it. So stay tuned. But where the other place that I thought where you could do it is you could do retreats for your people and teach them how to flip the houses, because you said that's something that you teach on. And that's more where I see conventionally the retreats used is kind of as that teaching training platform, but there's no reason why you couldn't do it for the former.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So we can carry on. I would love to carry on that conversation with you because you've got a lot of things going there that sound really interesting. If there are there any more questions or should I move? Should I keep going?
Keep going.
Keep going. All right, let's do it. All right. So back on to, I think I've got to, let me do my from current slide. There you go. Are you seeing it big on your screen as well? Blown up?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, let's go back. Hold on. I've got to go to the right place here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So, why in-person retreats are hot and here to stay. So this is something that I wanted to make sure that I cover, because, this is really taking it big picture for a minute here. So a lot of people are drawn to retreats because they are held in some beautiful, gorgeous location. But I have to tell you, you don't have to be doing a retreat in Tahiti or Bali or Costa Rica or Italy for it to be a draw. But you do have to have probably a beautiful venue, and a venue ideally with beautiful grounds. I mean, Desiree's property in Rancho Santa Fe is exactly that. It's a beautiful home with a gorgeous view. I mean, you have to at least be offering people something that is, I'm sorry, there's something popping up on my screen on the side here. Let me just see if I can get rid of this. There we go. All right. And so the beauty of the venue is very, very important, but that's not necessarily why people are drawn to them. What's happening? I think the travel aspect is very important. Being able to offer something that is further afield, and people have had this pent up desire for travel now over the entire year of 2020, and we're just rounding the corner finally and starting to see travel start to open up. And there are a lot of people who do want to get out and about. And the reason that this is important, and I mentioned this, is that the single largest industry within travel that is absolutely hot is this wellness travel. Now, wellness travel, this is super important, is travel that is travel or vacationing while enhancing one's mental, physical, or spiritual well-being. All right, let me just repeat that. It's vacationing while enhancing one's mental, physical, or spiritual well-being. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's the definition of a retreat right there. And this wellness travel is not going to go away as a hot trend. It's coming back. It's going to come back. It's going to come back in spades coming out of the pandemic. And so the important thing is to understand where the spending is with this wellness travel. It is by far the hottest aspect of travel. And these wellness travelers, they're spending 178% more on domestic travel and 53% more on overseas travel. So, you know, they are out there spending far more money than the average traveler on these expenses. And for those of you who have businesses, and a lot of people that I work with are coaches, and they have as their demographic primarily women in this age range. This is, so, you know, it's interesting because we see that the trend and the desire and the demand for wellness travel among the baby boomers, among the Gen Xers, among the millennials. It's spread across all of the different age ranges, but where we see the highest consumption is among women 30 to 60 years old. That's the highest consumption of folks who are out doing wellness travel. So if you have clients who are in this demographic, you know, here's what I have to say to you is exactly this. Your clients are seeking these types of experiences and they are paying for them handsomely. Okay, and that's something I need for you to hear as a business person. So that's why the hot retreats are hot and here to stay. Let's talk. I'm going to keep going to the next one and then I'll stop for questions. But when retreats make sense for your business. So the first thing that you have to think about is, are you retreat ready? And this is what I mentioned I was going to talk about and what you need to have in place to be able to do a retreat. And let's talk about first the three things again that you need. And these are the three things without which do not pass go, do not collect 200. You should not be doing a retreat, but you're going to be amazed at how simple they are. Okay, these are the basics. Number one, you have to have proof of concept. If you are a business person, you need to have a service or a product that you have proven there is a desire for out on the market and that people have actually paid you for. That's basically what we call proof of concept. So do you have a service and a product that's out there making money? Do you have paying clients? Do you have people who have paid you for this amazing proof of concept that you've come up with? Because without clients, you can't have a business, and without clients, you can't have a retreat. So you've got to have obviously a body of clients. And so you've got to have this mechanism working well where you're bringing clients in and you're retaining clients. And the third is, you know, I mentioned it above, there's got to be some type of learning content, or at least for those of you who have masterminds, or I'm sorry, I missed your name when you gave it to me, but the person who we were just talking to, like you, if you're bringing people together for facilitated dialogue, that absolutely counts. But there's got to be some portion of that day that is guided, that is facilitated by you, because that is really where the magic comes. You are the hostess of that party, and you know you've got to be making everyone feel comfortable and having people feel engaged, and it's really, you know, your facilitation of that entire process that is the secret sauce here. Okay. Whoops, I have no idea why that's in there. Okay. So let me stop. Let me actually take some questions there and see if there's anybody that has some questions around, you know, these elements that I just talked about. Are you concerned about the teaching content or the learning content? Do you have any questions about what makes retreats hot and why they're here to stay? Any questions at all for me?
And I think one of the things that's interesting is that the learning part of it, you don't have to have a lot. I've seen some people take a book, you know, and they follow that book together, that book. They take another person's program, or they bring someone else in to do the program. So if you're sitting there thinking about, oh, maybe I don't know what I could teach, or I don't think I can teach a lot, it just has to be a difference. Like you mentioned, the transformation that happens when they come in and they leave. So it could be, I mean, I've seen people just, again, one person just took a book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and they just worked through that book. So it wasn't something she created. She just created an interest in other people, and how she found that was going to meetup groups that talked about it. And that's how she promoted it. And then she got people that were interested in diving deeper with it and so forth. So if you're thinking, well, maybe I don't have that knowledge or that ability to really teach, think about something that you want to learn, and maybe that you can be able to share in a way with other people that will actually pay for it. So just being creative with your ideas.
Absolutely. All right. I'll carry on. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about when retreats, I think, make sense for your business. Kind of where do you need to be? I talked about what you needed to have in place, but let's talk a little bit about kind of where you need to be in your business for this to make sense for you to introduce them. So where I find it most beneficial for the majority of the clients that I work with, and again, these are folks who are usually have coaching practices. They're sort of coaches or they're healers. They are business owners. It's usually at a point where they're wanting to kind of up level their business and they're wanting to go to higher ticket programs and, higher ticket packages, a VIP clientele. So it's really when they're at that place where they want to take their business to that next level in terms of the offerings that they are putting in front of their clients and really enriching that client journey so that they are, having their clients come back again and again, but have something higher ticket to offer them and something maybe a little bit more intimate. So that's where I see retreats really being very beneficial, because to me, retreats are very, very, very well placed when you're at a position in your business where you are wanting a stepping stone from, let's say, a base level of programs or packages or pricing points that you've been operating to, but now you want to move them to something higher. They can be a wonderful stepping stone for getting you there. And one of the things that you really need to take at the time to do is that reverse engineering that we talked about. And this is why you put the question to me, why 6 months? Because I really like to think through how you're going to, give yourself that time to understand who you're going to put this in front of, how you're going to price it, what the content is going to be, and what the logistics are going to be around planning it. And then, reverse engineer and giving yourself that grace of the planning time to put all of those pieces in place. And so I like to use that 6 months because it does give you that little bit of padding. All right, I just wanted to mention those last few points, but let's jump into the third area here, which I know some of you are incredibly interested in. For in business, because we're in business to be of service, but we're in business. We have to have our businesses vibrant to be of service. So the revenue piece is absolutely important. So let's talk about how you can leverage retreats to increase your revenue. All right. So the first thing that you need to know is that anytime that you are offering something in person, whether it's an in-person workshop, an in-person VIP day, anytime you're doing something in person, it automatically increases the price point. Okay. Because it's time spent with you in a very intimate way. And so that's number one. We know we can charge more money for an event if we have an in-person element. Oftentimes these are used by coaches as a complement to an online program that they're already running. So an online mastermind, an online coaching program, and they're using this as the in-person complement. So they're already embedding the retreat into that package. So the price is already embedded in and the retreat is already sold as part of that package. And in that way, they're using that retreat. Sometimes they use it at the beginning as a kickoff. Sometimes they use it in the beginning of the coaching package to sort of provide, create cohesion among the group. Sometimes they use it at the end as a capstone, but they're bringing the folks in their coaching or mastermind together for that in-person opportunity to really connect and to really go deeper on a topic of choice. So one example, I just throw this out, is for the easy math is you might have a $25,000 annual mastermind or a $25,000 annual coaching program, and you put 10% of that or 2,500 toward the retreat, right? For, let's say, a 3-day retreat. That would be an example of how you would embed that already into the cost of the program. Now, I know some of you are saying to me, Tamara, I don't have a $25,000 annual program. That's fine. Let's talk about the other type of retreat, because the one that we've just looked at is when it's part of a larger package. Okay, so that's one type of retreat, when you're embedding it into a larger package or program. The other type of retreat that I see used very successfully and this would probably maybe what many of you might be thinking of doing, is a standalone event. All right. So it's the standalone event is when you're using the retreat as that stepping stone, right? That stepping stone to go from, let's say, a one-on-one coaching to a group coaching program, or from a group coaching program to one-on-one coaching, or from, a group coaching program to, let's say, a mastermind. So you're using it to go from some level of program to a higher level of program, higher price point, usually, generally speaking, more intimacy as well, even a one-on-one VIP day with you, okay, or one-on-one coaching, as I mentioned before. So those are some of the ways that people are using this, at least in the coaching world and mastermind world, as a leverage point to move from programs and using it as a standalone event. Now, let me talk about how retreats can increase your short-term sales, okay? So this is how, let me say this in another way. This is how you make profit from the retreat itself, okay? So you absolutely should be padding some profit into the price of your retreat. So you know all of your costs, you collect all of your costs, you know what your venue is going to cost you, your meals, your excursions, your activities, and then you add some profit for yourself in there. And by the way, that's including all of your expenses for getting there. And, if you've got travel expenses or other expenses, you're adding that in your costs, that's already covered. I'm talking about, this is on top, this is pure profit. So you're padding that price. Normally what I recommend at a minimum, and I want you to hear the word minimum, can you go higher? Heck yes, is $100 per person per day. So if we do some easy math, if you had a 3-day retreat and you had 10 people, that would be $300 a day, and it would be $3,000 of profit after everything else is paid for. All right. And that's just doing easy math with only $100 a day. And as I mentioned, that would be, to me, the minimum. Depends on your demographic, depends on how much they can afford and how much value and what your inclusions are in the retreat in terms of the price. All right. You can add a higher priced VIP option. All right. So you can give them the nicest room. You can do a room upgrade if you're in a hotel. You can do some private coaching with them. You can have them come to a meal with you that's an exclusive meal. There are ways that you can do the VIP option so that it is not additional, too much more money or time for you, but it is seen as incredible value add. And that is super important, that value add piece. You might have, this may not apply to anyone who's on the call today, but I know some people I work with, they sell essential oils, they sell books, they sell jewelry, you might have other merchandise that you're able to sell at the retreat. And absolutely there should be an upsell or an invitation to work with you somehow further so that you can continue the journey of what you've just uncovered with them during the retreat, whether that's a coaching, or it's one-on-one or group or something else that you're offering them a chance to work with you more past the retreat. So these are some ways that you can increase short-term sales. So make profit from the retreat itself. I like to have people think a little bit more long-term. And I know a lot of you probably on here are long-term thinkers. As entrepreneurs, we have to be. It's not just about the quick buck and what we're doing now. We always have to be looking ahead to the future. So the reason I call my talk The Business of Bonding is I just want to spend a minute on why retreats are so important for long-term revenue intake, okay? It's all about this equation. We all know it as business people, the know, like, trust. The people, first of all, we have to have people come to know us. We want people to like the product or service that we offer. And then they come to trust us. They come to understand that we know what we're talking about. There's value in our product. And that's when they become a consumer. And retreats are absolutely, and this is, by the way, this is what you're taking people through on that journey, right? From a prospective client to a paying client at the end. Here's what retreats do, and they do it exponentially quickly. They take your paying clients to repeat clients, to raving fans, to brand ambassadors. It's almost like whoop, the fast track, because they've spent this deep dive time with you. They've been in connection, in community with not only you, but the other members of your circle. And it really absolutely speeds up this know, like, trust dynamic. So it's, again, clicking all of these boxes: client attraction, client retention, client loyalty, and client lifespan. And this is really, really important. I want to spend a minute talking about this because I think as entrepreneurs, we get really hung up on the client attraction piece. But I want you to understand that where your money lies is with client retention. And that's where retreats are really best utilized. They can be used for client attraction purposes, but in a very specific way and context. They're much more successful as a client retention mechanism, where you're enriching the client journey, you're moving your people to a higher price point package, a more intimate time with you. You're building that client loyalty so that they stay with you longer, and you're expanding that customer lifespan, because the clients who stay with you longer spend more money with you. It's absolutely the thing that you cannot ignore. And so, yes, you need to still be always bringing new clients in, but you can't do it at the expense of understanding the importance of client retention and how you are really developing that in your business. And that's, I really want to emphasize that, because I see a lot of people fail unless they do it right is they're really relying on retreats as a client attraction mechanism, where they're better served using it as a client retention mechanism. All right, so let me just stop there. I'm going to stop my share there. And let me ask, are there any questions? Because I just covered a lot of information that just started to get into the financials. So that's the juicy stuff. So let me ask if anyone has any questions for me.